With the blessings of the Noble Triple Gem, I would like to wish you a very happy and peaceful evening. Teruvan Saranai. Those who join with us from Sri Lanka and elsewhere, may you have a very good morning to begin your daily activities. May this Sutta study class help you store the Dhamma in you and cultivate more positive qualities to make the day wonderful and productive. We are going to begin this evening Sutta study class with such wholesome thought. It is October 1st here in Canada and the US, and some of you, of course, have stepped into the second day of the October. So it's how things change, and we keep wholesome thought in mind for everyone in the world, despite the relationship. We want everyone to be happy. That is our compassion and kindness for the entire world. So let's begin the Sutta study for cultivation of Sila, Samadhi and Panya. We have selected a different discourse today. Perhaps we have discussed this Sutta a year ago or so. Anyway, it is beneficial for us to go on Suttas we already discussed again and again and bring the Dhamma into our mind for mindfulness and other aspect of the noble teaching. Let me begin the Sutta studies by paying homage to the Buddha by reciting Namo Tassa 3 times, and you may join with me in respecting the Supreme Buddha. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the fully enlightened One. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the fully enlightened One. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the fully enlightened One. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Dhamma friends, the sutta we selected for today's discussion is coming from Anguttara Nikaya, now section 7, and the sutta number is 63 of the section 7, and the name of the sutta is Nagarupama Sutta. In translation, we can find this as the discourse on the citadel parable. This is one of the interesting discourse because of the way the Buddha brought up the Dhamma into our attention. One of the common features of the Buddha in some occasion is to give a parable or simile or metaphor or story like to understand the deepest meaning of the Dhamma. So this kind of parables, metaphors, similes, stories are given when the audience need that support. I think we also develop Shraddha on the fact that the Buddha has such a wonderful quality in teaching, and also we get help this kind of from this kind of metaphors, similes, and analogies and stories to understand the Dhamma, to keep them in our mind, so that there are multiple benefits out of this kind of discourse. Not only we remember the story or metaphor or simile, whatever it is, and we of course try our best to remember the Dhamma for our day-to-day practice. So this sutta is such a wonderful one with regard to those factors. So I think you were able to read the discourse anyway. We try our best to read through. In some areas where the need and also discuss some Dhamma facts. Let's see how we can study the discourse. As I said, this is from Anguttara Nikaya, section number 7. We all know the fact that there are 7 things in this discourse, because if you get a sutta from Anguttara Nikaya, so you usually have kind of numbers from in the discourse, so that it is easier to follow. But if you get a sutta from Majjhima Nikaya, Dika Nikaya, and Samyutta Nikaya and other section, you don't guess the meaning, the number of Dhamma facts in a discourse. But in the Anguttara Nikaya, what we call numerical discourses, you get that number into your mind. So this sutta begins by saying, because when a Raja's frontier citadel is well equipped with the 7 requisite of a citadel and the 4 kinds of food, obtainable whenever they desire it, without trouble, without difficulty. I'm reading a different translation, I guess. You got the translation of Bhikkhu Tanisaru, as I remember. So this is from a different one. It's fine. So we can get the meaning. So the Buddha said to bhikkhus there that think about a Raja or king. King's actually fortress. Then it is well guarded by 7 things. What are these 7 things? We are going to know them. And also, it is well equipped with 4 kinds of food. So the Raja's fortress or frontier citadel is protected by, is having 7 things in essence, and another 4 is there as food. So with these 7 things and four kinds of food, it is not possible for any person, any similar king come and invade, because it is protected by in various ways. It has many qualities to protect the city itself. So like that, because Buddha continues, the noble disciple, if the noble disciple has 7 things in his practice, he is going to get 4 things, and as a result, he would be directing himself into nirvana. So this is the simple summary of the discourse. So the metaphor or the parable is there always clearly in the first place, and then the dharma the Buddha wanted to bring about with the parable is coming after that. So in the first section of the discourse, we have the 7 requisites or qualities of a well fortified city of the king, and then the 4 kinds of food, and then we have the second section with regard to the dharma, 7 requisite of a noble disciple, and he is going to get 4 important things in his experience, and he is definitely a type of Sotapanna or Sakadagami or Nagami. If not, he's able to attain full enlightenment. So when we use the noble disciple, it means either one of those 8 individuals, definitely. So with this fact, we understand that this discourse is teaching us how to be a noble one, how to win the enlightened state, how to deceive the Mara, how to defeat the Mara with the weapon of wisdom. So that is being taught in this discourse. Let's go into the section where the Buddha talks about the 7 requisites of a citadel. So the first one is, as you know, citadel pillar. It is constructed strong, and the height is so much, everybody and anybody can this pillar from distance, and of course there is a facility for soldiers or the king to go to the top of the pillar to see around, and if there is any danger, they could be easily see those things from long distance. So it is also a kind of mark that the city is stronger. If you have a big tower in the city, it indicates that the city is prosperous in a normal sense. And of course, it could be seen by people from long distance that this is that particular city and so on. I think there are many implications of a pillar of in a city. So we can see what exactly this pillar is symbolizing in the Dharma. So here, bhikkhus, in the Raja's frontier citadel, there is a pillar deeply buried, well sunk, immovable, unshakable. If you remember the Ratana Sutta, it talks about in the Kila, Yatin the Kilo, Pataving Sitosya, Chatubbi Vatebi, Asampakampio. There is in the Kila, Indra means unshakable, not destroyed by usual things, and it is unshakable when the winds blows from each direction, whether it is a terrible storm, it's still solid and unshakable. Likewise, the noble disciples, when he or she understand the Dhamma, his status of mind is also like that. So it is what that stanza of the Ratana Sutta tells us. And likewise here, a pillar in the Raja city is unmovable and well sunk and well buried, and is made up of stone or any other solid material. With this first citadel requisite, it is well equipped for the protection of the city inhabitants and for warding off those outside. Yes, two things happen with this pillar. Watching enemies from long distance, so the enemies could be ward off because of this possibility and probability, and as a result the inhabitants of the city is protected. And next requisite of a well fortified city is the city moat. It's called kind of deep and wide protection around the city, in outside of the city. uh, you know the deep, it is deep with, and the water is always there for crocodile and other dangerous animals like shark to live. And if you try to cross over, you will be in great danger. So that is one of the ways to protect the frontier fortress citadel in ancient time. And if you go into those ancient cities, you can see the ruins of those tactics used by the king with the moat. So the second important elements of a well fortified city is this water channel around the city. The Buddha said here, because in the Raja's frontier citadel there is a moat, deep and wide. With this second citadel requisite, it is well equipped for the protection of the city inhabitants and for warding off those outside. So the third one is encircling path. After the moat around the city fortress, you have different parts on top of those walls. If you remember the Great Wall in China, and also if you go to Galle in Sri Lanka, you can see those walking paths. They are huge. Even you can drive down a vehicle on. So there are different parts on different walls on top of them, because the soldiers need to patrol and look outside and inside of the city, being on the top of those walls, walking through the paths, and that is required. So that is the encircling path. So when you have those encircling path on top of walls, it is a requisite for protecting the city from enemies and also taking care of well-being of the inhabitants. Now we go to the fourth requisite, that is armory. It means Furthermore, because in the Raja's frontier citadel, there is a great armory of weapons, such as missiles and swords. So in those days, they were talking about missiles. It means when you hit the target, you are not closer to the target, but you are away from. So it just so those are called missile. So uh, there are great armory of weapons, collection of weapons on top of those parts, near the parts, or either on the ground, but easily, taken on those places of on the top of the path for soldiers to take. So it's well equipped with various weapons. So that is another important thing to protect the city from dangers. The fifth one is troops. Very important thing, because if you do not have different troops like what do you call warriors who can handle arrows and bows, and warriors who can fight with sword, and warriors who are trained to throw missiles, and those who use horses and elephants and other animals. So without a training you cannot do it. So there were different section in army, and these troops equally important for the king to handle the warfare. So different kinds of troops were there for the city to protect it from dangers and to find the well-being of the inhabitants. So that is the fifth one. And the sixth one is the gatekeeper. So there are four main gates of a well-fortified city for four directions, and there would be one high-rank soldier or minister who handle the four gates, but there should be a person at the gate who is wise and intelligent about everything, not just one thing. If that gatekeeper is not only people, only couple of people in the city, how could he do the job, does the job? So he should be able to know the inhabitants of the city and outsiders, so that he can protect the city. And he would be able to identify different objects outside of the city, and he should be vigilant always throughout the day and night with the support of fellow gatekeepers. So we talk about gatekeepers importance uh, with regard to the protecting the city as the sixth one. And the seventh one, the last one, the wall. So because in Raja's frontier citadel there is a wall, high and wide, and well covered with a good cost of plasters. So yeah, so the wall would be very high and also wide. If you go to those ancient cities, even the wall of houses are really white, and also made by stones or bricks that made well, so that it is not easier even an elephant and break the wall, break the stone wall made by bricks or stone, because they are well plastered. Not even there is not even a single hole in it, so protected. So the wall is really important. So these are the seven requisite for a well protected citadel, frontier citadel. What are the seven? A pillar, the moat, the encircling path, and armory, the storage of various weapons, and then different kinds of troops, centered place around the city, in the city, and gatekeeper, and the wall. These are the seven things. When you have these seven things well arranged in a city, there are four important food items should be there for inhabitants to survive, including the troops. According to the Sutta, we talk about for different kind of food like grass, wood, and water. They are for elephants, horses, and other animals. Even cows who give milk to the king and soldiers and all the people. Maybe pigs, maybe goats. They may be used for eating. So, by the way, you should have that kind of food items for animals with water. Then rice and grain and barley and that sort of things for people. Then other important items of consumption like sesame seed and green peas, beans, and other food kind, because they are very healthy and they are used as supportive food items for the main food. Then you should have medicine. These are the four items we talk about in the sutta as four kinds of food. So now you have water, you have all kinds of medicinal item and all kind of food items, not only for humans but also for animals they use for protecting the city. So with these seven things and four kinds of food, you are unable to say that you are defeated by anybody. In other words, with these seven requisites and four kinds of food, and no powerful army can beat you. Do you remember the story of Vajji and also the king of the Magadha, Ajasattu? Comparatively, the Vajji region is smaller, very smaller than the great country uh, that King Ajasattu ruled. However, the Ajatasattu, along with very skillful ministers like Vasakara, could not defeat Malla and Vajji because they were well fortified with this kind of seven things. And in Sapta Parihaniya teaching, seven qualities of a group, of a person who never goes backward will definitely become strong and nobody can defeat them. So we can see the same thing happened to Vajji, and later on they were defeated because of various issues arose in the city among the kings and so on. So likewise, if you have these seven things as a king, you are not going to be a victim of any powerful army, and also the inhabitants and the fellow citizens of the country would be prosperous because everything is made by the wise people in the country. So now we are going to see the dharma in the with the parable. So noble disciple, I have explained this before, but I would like to say it again. How does one become a noble? You should have some qualities in your mind. So the average human beings or divine beings become noble when he or she possess some sort of moral principles and the acceptance of the Buddha as the teacher, and promising yourself to follow the Dharma as your guiding principles. And these are some of the qualities you can keep to make you a noble person. In my understanding, all of you are noble into a certain extent because you have accepted the Buddha as your holy teacher, and whatever the Buddha said is accepted wholeheartedly as your life principles, and you have the urgency in your mind to gain the Dharma for your salvation. So maybe you are not there yet, but you have accepted the fact that you are a disciples of the Buddha who follow the principles as uttered by the Buddha. Those facts are enough to claim you as a noble disciple. But it is up to you and me to increase the nobility of us by taking important measures to strengthen on the Dharma. but we have the seed of noble disciple. So being a very strong individual on the Dharma, we can go into super state of nobility step by step. So this is what I want to tell you again. And if I explain you the other way around, that also helps you to understand how not to become a noble person. In suttas, we find this statement: "Asutvat putujjanu Aryanang adasavi Aryadhamma sakovido Aryadhamme avinito." So to become not to become a noble person, what qualities you should have? You shouldn't accept the Buddha as your teacher, as your holy person. Then you are not accepting good people, Kalyanamita, as good good guiding people. And then when you do not know who the Buddha is, who the enlightened beings are, and who the Sapuris are, you are not going to have their Dharma in you, so that you are undisciplined. You are not disciplined in the Dharma. You not know their Dharma, so that you are called Asutva Putujjano. You are a very average person. So this is why I always emphasize the fact that you have become a noble person because you have already accepted these important qualities of a noble disciple. Maybe we are staying in the same level just because of karmic energy, just because of not taking right effort further and so on. It's fine. We will do it. Now Buddha goes on to explain the ways to become a noble person by mentioning 7 virtues. They are very important for us. Even so, bhikkhus, when a noble disciple is accomplished in 7 virtues and attain the 4 jhanas, the higher mind at will, without any difficulty, without any trouble, dwells happily here and now. So do you see what kind of benefits we are expecting from this 7 requisite of a noble disciples and 4 jhana? Living happily here and now. Ditta Dhamma Sukha Vihara. Before we enter into nirvana completely, we would be able to taste it as right and accurate and wholesome by attaining jhana, by temporary suppression of unwholesome. So that we can see the trajectory of this path. First, you have to 7 qualities and simultaneously, actually. And then it's easier for you to direct your mind to first jhana, second jhana, third jhana, and fourth jhana. In a simple term, you are in samma samadhi. You are in samadhi bojjanga. You are in samadhi bala, and you are in samadhi indriya. Mostly you go there and stay in the samadhi just to clear the just to certain yourself in the Maggapala. So 7 virtues should be practiced. And when you practice seven virtues over and over, the very important thing you have now is you can get into jhana at will. Have you heard about this before? Nikamalabi, the very Pali word for this is Nikamalabi, at will. Just by thinking about the dharma you usually respect, you can gain jhana. You don't need to sit and take a meditation subject, recite some verses at the beginning of the meditation to gain into jhana. You just gain jhana by will, by with just a kind of reminder about some dhamma facts. Perhaps the same jhanic experiences could be recalled immediately because you have gone there, you have experienced that before, so that it would not be difficult for you and me to get into jhana. So that kind of experience come to us when only we have these 7 requisite over and over. That is what the Buddha said here. Isn't this showing that the gradual training on Sila and other factors around Sila are important? Yes. If you want to get closer to Nirvana, it is better for us to always attain jhanic experiences, because it is the temporary state of Nirvana, and you have to get it if we practice moral principles. Let's go into details. Do you remember the first parable of the seven? That is the pillar, citadel pillar. And it is compared to Shraddha in the seven noble qualities of a noble one. So once again, the first quality of a noble one is confidence on the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha as the triple gem, and also the strong, I would say, belief or acceptance on Sila or the karma. So when you accept the Buddha, of course, you accept the Dharma, and within the Dharma, you have karma, you have Sila, and so on. And when you accept the Sangha as your sole example, you have accepted those principles work well. That's why these people have gained nobility, noble state of living. So accepting the noble triple gem as your guiding objects or principles have made you everything. So friends, it is what it is. And Buddha said here, because just as in the Raja's frontier citadel, there is a pillar deeply buried, well sunk, immovable, and unshakable for the protection of the city inhabitants and for warding off of those outside. Even so, because the noble disciple has Shraddha, he has Shraddha in the Tathagata's awakening. Thus, the Blessed One is Arhat, fully awakened, accomplished in wisdom and conduct, Vijayacharana Sampan. Sugato, welfarer, well gone one on the Noble Eightfold Path. Then Nova of the worlds, Loka Vidu, he is aware of Sankara Loka and Sammuti Loka, Paramatta Loka, on all kinds of Loka. That's why we call Nova of the worlds. Peerless guide of tameable person, Purisa Dhammasarati. He can tame those people who could be tamed. Not everyone, but those people who have Shraddha, Virya, Sati, Samadhi, Panya as seed in their mind. Teacher of gods and humans, Satta Deva Manusana. And Buddha Bhagava, Buddha awakened one, he knew the Four Noble Truth entirely, and Blessed One Bhagava. So the Shraddha on the Buddha in us arises when we understand the Buddha qualities categorically. You can have Shraddha, a little bit of Shraddha when only you know that Buddha is okay, very intelligent. But there is no details explanation in you when you have one thing of the Buddha. But if you know the seven qualities, huge qualities of the Buddha in details, and can concentrate on well with kind of affection to the Buddha, there you have Shraddha. In couple of places in Tripitaka, I see the word Pema. The Buddha used the word fame. Pema means prema, pemato. In Pali stanza, I use pemato jayati. So Buddha used that word positively to denote that type of affection of you to me is helping you understand Dharma. So with the Reverend Wakkali's incident, he was having intense pain on the Buddha. There he was reproached by the Buddha. But at some point, in other places, Buddhas have a little bit of fame on me so that it is enough for you to reborn in happy places. So fame is going in line with Shraddha here, but a strong Shraddha, Mulika Shraddha is not mean here. Akaravati Saddha, the rational faith on the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha is meant here. So that is like the pillar in the city. When you get into the pillar, you can see the whole city, and you can see pros and cons everywhere. And you most importantly, you can see the dangers if there are, and protect the city. So Shraddha is protecting you from various negative views and the attack from greed, hatred, and ignorance, because you direct yourself to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha when you have a problem. So Shraddha is making us so protected from unwholesomeness. A lot of people come to meditation, talk about Buddhism without Shraddha. Even there are monks without Shraddha. I have found some monks who have no Shraddha about the life they live, about the Dharma they practice. Therefore, they could not be progressive in this asana. So they usually find satisfaction out of certain duties that lay people do. That is because of lack of Shraddha. That is because of zero Shraddha on matters they should work on. So without Shraddha, whether you are a layperson or a bhikkhu or bhikkhuni or upasaka, upasika, or a human or a divine being, you cannot step on this noble, you cannot step even one step in this noble path and discipline. So Shraddha is compared to the pillar in the parable, and it shows how important it is. And it is the very fact. Some people ask questions like this when the Buddha explains Shraddha is really important at the beginning of the practice. Why don't we need Samadhi? Samadhi is much important quality than Shraddha. Shraddha is not mentioned in the Noble Eightfold Path. Friends, yes, by that name we cannot find Shraddha in the Noble Eightfold Path, but with right understanding, you have to accept the Buddha is right. Do you see that Shraddha, Samadhi is categorized into two? So the Samadhi in mundane sense and also supramundane. With mundane sense, you accept those qualities. There is a one point in 10 type of Laukika Samadhi, that is the belief that there are sramanas or disciples who practice Sila, Samadhi, and Panya. With that category, with that particular point, we have Shraddha. You believe that these people do well. You believe that these people have compassion in their heart. You believe that these people live up to the training principles and so on. So Shraddha is always sharpened by wisdom, and wisdom is also not coming into you if there is no proper sabda. So they reciprocate, they rise together. So with that kind of Shraddha on the teacher, as I said, the Shraddha on the Dhamma and Sangha and Sila are rising together in us, so that first virtue is done. How do we develop Shraddha if we do not have proper Shraddha? I think you better think about your life, and then you say both side of your life, happy side and unhappy side. And perhaps you have everything, every material thing in your life, that you want to live a very comfortable life. Still you have suffering. So then it is a point for you to question why this suffering is. Even though the queen has had many things in her life, even the things she had could not compare to other people. Still she experienced old age. She died, and we can think that how difficult her life when she had problems in the royal family and in the country, and the pressure and depression were some sort of mentality she experienced according to the available information. So even with all these things in her life, she had suffering. So that would be a point for us to go beyond the normal acceptance to a teaching like the Buddha. In the teaching of the Buddha, we talk about the samsara. We talk about the dangerous experiences that some beings, had throughout this cycle of birth and death. So if you have Shraddha on the Buddha, which means the belief that the Buddha is right, you are going to see your life in line with those factors of the Buddha. Life before this one and life after this one, and what could happen if I violate moral principles and so on. You can listen to the stories from the divine world as well as the hell and the animal kingdom. And so there are a lot of factors for us to consider to get a kind of dharma sangvega in us, to get shraddha. So particularly when you are sick, when you lose your loved ones, when you cannot fulfill your aspiration, you become upset, you are in sad situation. So the solace come to us when we find this support from the Buddha's teaching or Kalyana Mitta. So that is how we can develop Shraddha, proper Shraddha, if we do not have constant engage with Dhamma related practices. So the second one and the third one, Hiriotap, and that was discussed in last week discussion too. Moral shame and moral fear, hiri. So you are embarrassed to do bad things. Even if you are alone, nobody can watch you, but still you feel shame on you if you feel to do something bad, negative, unwholesome. So, being hateful and being angry and jealousy, that kind of things could happen in us, even, without others notice. Nobody can see our mind. We can be smiley and pleasant, but inside of us is all about anger, frustration, hate, jealousy. So, however, when you have this quality, moral shame or hiri, you are not going to do it. Only you know what you have, but with moral shame, you are going to erase that type of mind immediately because you fear of wrongdoings and the results of wrongdoings, and you are going to cultivate other unwholesomeness if you keep this thought. That's how you think. So with moral shame and moral fear, you invite troubles within. So the troubles are outside. Of course, the sources of issues, mental fatigue, stress, craving, attachment are outside. Living, they are existing outside of us. So if you do not have moral shame and moral fear, these things come to you. No barrier, no protection made in the senses with the right understanding, so that you are in big trouble. So if you keep both moral shame and moral fear, you have made a very nice, very strong fortress around you in your sensory experiences with the support of wisdom. And don't worry about getting into unwholesomeness, because you are protected in the first place. So the second and the third factors of the 7 noble qualities are moral shame and moral fear, and it is of course well grounded with Shraddha, because in the first place you have Shraddha. If you talk about the chronology of those 7 things, first Shraddha, second is the moral shame, and the third one is moral fear. I think many of us have these 3 into a great extent. That's why we try our best to stay in the original Sila and Samadhi and Panya as much as we can. We may not be perfect, but we try because of these things. And the fourth one is Bahushruta. Very important thing. So this Sutta study class is to make us Bahushruta, for not for gaining anything, not to show up, but to collect weapons of wisdom in us to to fight with the Mara, to defeat the Mara. In Dhammapada, let me remember that beautiful stanza. Yodet marang panya udena jitancharakya animesanosya. How do we start the stanza? Yeah. Kumbupa mankaya mimang viditva nagarupa mang chitta midang tapetva yodet marang panya udena jitancharakya animesanosya. This is from the Dhammapada. As I remember, the verse is 40. So, Kumbhupa Mankai Mimang Viditva. The noble disciple considers this body as a clay pot. Kumbhupa Mankai Mimang Viditva. Knowing this body as fragile as a clay pot, Nagarupa Mang Chitta Midang Tapetva. Comparing the mind into a busy city, Yodeta Marang Panya Udena. Fight with the Mara by using the weapon of wisdom. So now you are going to win the game. Jitancharakke. Protect what you want using wisdom. Jitancharakke. Animesanosya. How do you protect what you gain? Is with not attachment to anything. It's a very meaningful statement of the Buddha in one stanza. So the body is compared to a clay pot. You know how fragile it is. Even a glass, even a material made by clay or glass or any other material that is easily breakable. So you can break it easily. And this body also, right? So it is made by 4 elements. It is very fragile. So very nice comparison. And the mine is compared to a city. If you consider Toronto city or Ottawa or any other city in Canada, people are always moving in the city, doing various things. A lot of noise is there always. So that our mind has 5 physical openings gate, and information is flowing in always, and there is no guarantee that all the information are wholesome. Majority of them are unwholesome, bounding us to various problems. If we are not putting our wisdom into application, there is a great danger in polluting our mind. So the mind is compared to a city because of this nature of our mind. And now the disciple or the person who understand the body and mind in this manner has a lot of wisdom, because he knows the body and the mind and the reciprocal relationship of the body and mind, so that you have wisdom inherently, automatically, because you have evaluated the body and mind in such a way, so that you are defeating Mara. So long you understand the body and mind with the line of the Buddha's teaching, you are in the fight, in the process of fighting to defeat the Mara, and you can do it. So as a result, what kind of Mara? Let me explain you a little bit here. What kind of Mara you defeat here? At least the Pancha Nivarana, Kamachanda, the sensual pleasures, ill wills, and sleepiness and drowsiness, restlessness, worry, doubt. These are the Mara's representative. You defeat there because you know what this body and mind, so that you don't want to entertain this body and mind on certain temporary, impermanent things, so that you win the game. And how do you protect the mind now from invaders or things outside that are unwholesome? Being detached, anivesanosia. So you protect your mind by being away from attachment again and again. So this kind of things come to us when you become a Bahusruta. Weapon of wisdom is a is explanation to Bahusruta. So being able to know many things about the Four Noble Truths, the Noble Eightfold Path, the other factors of the 37 factors of enlightenment helps you fight with different types of Mara. 10 types of Mara is explained in Padana Sutta, and then you need lot of support, lot of guidance within and outside to defeat the Mara. So being Bahusutta is really, really positive for everyone. It does not mean that you sit and read the entire Tripitaka from the beginning to the end, but you should have some knowledge, some experience to solve your own problem. And students during the Buddha did not go to the teacher always. They tried their best to solve their own issues with the knowledge and the experience they get out of the Dhamma practice. So that by collecting different information from this kind of discussion, not only you, we also keep notes and memorize certain important statement of the Buddha, try our best to evaluate and recall. So that help us getting out of troubles. So Bahusruta is important, but I think you remember some statement like Bahusruta is a detrimental thing for attainment to enlightenment. It happens if you take Bahusruta status to show up, so that you develop mana, which is a very subtle defiled state. So we must be careful not to use our scholarship to look to make others unhappy, to gain something material things, to show up. We shouldn't use that. But Bahusruta is always important. Look at Venerable Sariputta and Venerable Ananda. They helped the Bhikkhu and Bhikkhuni order equally, a lay community, with their Bahusruta knowledge. So you also could be like that in order to help your family, your friends. It is not monks always go to these places and help them. Even you could do that. So being Bahusruta is really important, and it's compared to the armory in the city, in the citadel. So you have missiles, you have swords and other kinds of weapons, so that you are not afraid of fighting with the big army, because you have enough weapons stored in the city. Just like that, when a problems come, when a difficult time period comes, I know the Dharma, I know the Four Noble Truths. I have been in that type of Dhamma experiences over and over, so that I'm not afraid. Perhaps your son or daughter, your mother and father might be in trouble, physical trouble. So you look at them, you nurse them. So you have some Dhamma in you to manage the situation. If you do not have anything, you must be in the similar situation like those ailing people, psychologically derailed and down. But if you have Dharma in you, you understand the situation very well and become stronger person. So being Bahusruta is very important, and it is compared to having a lot of weapons in you. I think Shraddha, Hiriotapa are weapons of wisdom. They are very important weapons in you. Shraddha is a real weapon to defeat very powerful unwholesomeness. And Hiriotapa also. Now we go to the fifth one. It is called Aradvirya. You know the meaning of that by the name Virya. Aradha means you always put Virya into application. Keep that started always. Aradha Virya. So like troops, you have weapons in you. How could you use it if you do not know the time to use those weapons? Right? In the parable, you have weapons stored in different places, and if there are no trained soldiers to take them and fight, you are not going to win the war. You will be under those enemies. So you have knowledge and you would be able to use it in different occasions. So, for example, you have anger because of some reason, and you know actually about loving kindness or the danger of anger. So you know a lot of positive qualities against anger, but you do not know how to use it, how to bring kindness into your mind, pushing anger away from you. So that is being done by the power of virya. So we should be physically strong and mentally strong to defeat that negative mental state in us immediately and bring the positive quality. That is being done with the help of virya. So like the troops, like the trained soldiers, you have virya to do it. So aradha virya. Then we have the sixth one, which is really important. I'm not saying that the others are unimportant, but this is something that you might like very much. That is mindfulness. Mindfulness is compared to the gatekeeper. So suppose the soldiers on top of walls protect the city from dangerous things, using all kinds of weapons. But if there is no very skillful gatekeeper at the gate, the effort of those soldiers on top of walls and different places would be fertile, because through the gate enemies come in. So that is protected by the gatekeeper, right? So a spy, guy could come in if the gatekeeper is unskillful, right? If the gatekeeper is frequently, if he is not frequently, taking messages from people outside and look inside, he is unable to protect the great gate also. He should be fully equipped with, all this information. So gatekeeper is such an important individual in protecting the fortress. Likewise, Satima, the very quality that notices every information that come in is required for us. Sati means being mindful on seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, touching, and thinking, is making us very stronger and push us to the next level of the noble training. So I do not want to go into details how important Satima whole Satipatthana series in each Nikayas bring us the message how important the sati is. So you may understand it well through your Bahusruta. See, collecting information on sati is called Bahusruta. See how one quality attached to the other one, how one quality support the other quality. So they are interrelated, intertwined, and interdependent. So that we should have all these qualities, and don't worry, with one quality you will have the other qualities simultaneously or slowly later, depending on the personal skills. So that is the sixth one, being mindful, satima. The last one is, as you know, the head of everything, that is panya, and it is compared to the wall of the city. So that huge wall, if you go to Sigiriya, you go to Polonnaruwa, if you go to Quebec City also, you find a fortress. So that is the very important thing for you to block these huge forces of enemies with elephants, with trucks, with the carts, and so on. So Panya, in my understanding, is a quality that comes to us with the development of the previous qualities. In other words, at the same time, it could become a prominent quality for everything else also. When we talk about some yoniso manasikara and also clear comprehension, and then samadhi, we talk about it as a first quality, and the very important quality for everything. So panya is a result of all these things in the noble training. So because just as in the Raja's frontier citadel, there is a wall high and wide and well covered with a good coat of plaster. So the wall is not with holes, with any kind of weaker point and so on. It is well made, well plastered, and it is very strong too. Even elephant, 10 elephant, 20 elephant cannot break the wall. So because it is well made. So when wisdom is developing enormously, you are well protected by the walls of unwholesomeness. Akusala is unable to infiltrate your mind because the kusala walls are well built within. So that Buddha says having panya is really important. Now, Buddha has completed talking about 7 important qualities of a noble disciple. Shraddha, Hiri, Otappa, Aradhaviriya, then Bahusruta. Sorry, I mix up the order. Once again, Shraddha, Hiri, Otappa, Bahusruta, Aradhaviriya, Satima, and Panya. These are 7 qualities or factors each of us should have or should begin if you don't have in order to experience the 4 kinds of jhana. I have no indication found in the discourse how much Shraddha, Hiriotappa, Bahusruta, Aradhavirya, Satima, Panya should have in us in order to get into first jhana. But through experience, we know that at least Shraddha, Hiriotappa type of knowledge, I don't think that you should read all the discourses about Samadhi to reach Samadhi. But kind of knowledge is enough. At least the first 3 is really important. And then Virya is important because what you are doing in Samadhi is defeating the unwholesomeness temporarily. So we need to have Samma Vayama. Aradhavirya is quite synonym to Samma Vayama in the Noble Eightfold Path. Trying to push all these negative things away from you is really required for gaining Samadhi. And Panya, without Natti Janang Apanyasa, Panya Natti Ajaito. Without wisdom, there is no Jhana, Buddha said in the Dhammapada. And without jhana, there is no wisdom also. So both should work together in us to get into a proper level of noble status. So when you have these 7, you can go into jhana, not only just going there once, at will, without difficulty, without problems. You go there always, whenever you can. Suppose you travel to up country on the train, and you think about the dharma you have, and you can get samadhi experience at will without any difficulty. So because you have dharma in you, dhammanudhamma patipatti is being practiced now. If you look at the four qualities for gaining into stream winning position, Kalyanamita Sevana, Dhammasavana, Yoniso Manasikara, and Dhammanudhamma Patipatti, that is, they are being completed into a greater extent now with these 7. Dhammanudhamma Patipatti, because of that, you gain jhana often, so that it would be a possibility for you to break through to break through the unwholesomeness and attain stream in winning position. So in the commentary to the discourse, we find that winning the stream winning position, Sotapanna, once return position Sakadagami, non-return position Anagami, are able to achieve, if not the disciple attain arahantship because of this training, because of this frequent attainment to jhana, because jhana is well supported by 7 qualities. Do you see that jhana is therefore necessary for us? Whether you get into jhana either with samatha technique or vipassana, it's fine. Both are pathways, but at some point you are in jhana, you have that clarity of mind, pure mind, so that you can take decisions to break those chain-like unwholesome state of your mind. So that is what Nagaropama Sutta. I do not go to detail you the jhanic experiences as you have been going through, as you have been in jhanic discussion very much. However, if I tell you that 4 kinds of food in the parable are like grass, wood, and water for animals, and that is being compared to the first jhana, because getting into first jhana, in one way it's difficult, because that is the closest mental experiences with 5 hindrances. You fight with the 5 hindrances and defeat them, weaken them, and then enter into first jhana. It means that you have a great danger of attacking these 5 hindrances. Attack from 5 hindrances comes sooner when you are in the first jhana, because uh, right after living with 5 hindrances, you defeat them and enter into first jhana. So that grass, wood, water, and that sort of food item are compared to the first jhana. And when you go to the second jhana, rice, barley, and all these items of food consumption are compared to the second jhana, because in the second jhana, what you have is samadhi without vitakka vichara, because your mind is not talking new thing now, because talking ability in mind is suspended when you attain to the second jhana. So that the food you are having is much better than the previous food. Like previous food we talk about is for animals, is for other living beings in the city that support you for living there. And the food we now talk is about something people eat, and it's much refined and good, better. The quality should be tastier and good, so that it's compared to the second jhana. The samadhi of the second jhana is much higher than the first one, because of absence of vitakka and vichara. And when you go to the third jhana, you are talking about very nourished with vitamin, protein, iron, those nuts, sesame, ghee, honey, and that sort of things. So in the third jhana, a rising of equanimity is happening there, one of the highest qualities in the teaching, so that the level of samadhi is much stronger. And when you go to the fourth jhana, the samadhi is developed, sati is developed, upekka is developed, and all kinds of wonderful qualities are being developed up to the highest. And it's compared to the medicinal things, medicinal stuff, medicine plus medicinal food, because they are really required for well-being and stronger body for troops and people in the city. Then only you can fight with the enemy as well. So that in the fourth jhana, you are well equipped with those samadhi qualities, so that it is compared to the food here. Having said this, we come to the conclusion of the discourse, because when a noble disciple is accomplished in these 7 true virtues and attains these 4 jhanas, the higher mind at will, without difficulty, without any trouble, dwells happily here and now. So that this noble disciple bhikkhus is said to be one who has nothing to do with Mara, who is not overcome by the bad one. So if you have 7 qualities, if we have 7 qualities developed and also the 4 jhanas, we are not a person who lives in the Mara's territory. In other words, the Mara, the evil one, the evil state of mind also could not damage us, because we have defeated them well before, so that we are moving from akusala to kusala. Of course, we have gone, but we have a certain state of it, and the liberation from all kinds of problem is happening. So that is what the sutta is about, and it's time for us to have a discussion. Anything you want to go on over and over? Maybe any interesting point that you rely on very much? Maybe any additions to it? There are many suttas going in line with Nagaropama Sutta, like suttas like Seka Sutta in Majjhima Nikaya. It is a sutta delivered by Venerable Ananda. There we have very similar things, but not with details like in Nagaropama Sutta. And there is another sutta called King Sukha Sutta in Samyutta Nikaya, and it also talk about same thing. And there are some other suttas that talks about this kind of similes and metaphors, and also related dhamma. If you have no comments, remarks, and additions and questions, I understand that you understand the sutta very well. Of course, by reading it, you can understand the entire Dhamma facts in this discourse, because you have dealt with many suttas throughout years, so that uh, it's easier for you to understand the content of the suttas. The much difficult part is putting every Dhamma aspect into application. Don't worry, there would be time for us to complete every elements of the Dhamma in us. Only thing we need to do is to put the Dhamma into application as much as we can. Cardinal principles we should remember is being mindful, use yoniso manasikar always, see the importance of protecting sila, being a morally wholesome person, apply compassion and kindness to level with other people, even if they are not in that capacity. In the Dharma, we have the capacity to deal with them with the compassion and kindness. Time to time, take free time for reflection on Dhamma for longer period in the name of meditation. Read books on Dhamma, well-written one, so that this kind of training keeps you away from negative things around you, in you, and slowly you are going towards nirvana, I believe. So having said that, I just want to end today's session. Before I go, I just want to let you know that we are heading to Katina robe buffering period from the full moon day of October, which is coming on October 9th. We will be attending to many Katina ceremonies in different temples here in Ottawa, in Toronto, in the US. So chances are there for canceling the Sutta study class because it is on Saturday evening for us, and we may be attending to short version of overnight spirit chanting, and maybe we are heading to temples to participate in next day cutting rope offering. So I have no guarantee that I could conduct the Sutta study class for next week, next 3 weeks altogether. So you have a lot of programs to rely on as a Dhamma, practices, so that I feel happy about it. Even if you don't have any supportive program like this or any other, just meditate, read books, go on to same discussion you are in, and refresh yourself with the Dharma. That is what I want to tell you at the very last minute of the Sutta discussion. I wish you good health during this period of no Sutta study class. May you and your family members, your sons and daughters, grandchildren, parents, if you have brothers and sisters and loved ones in your list, may they all be well, happy, and peaceful. Remember this, Dhammo have Rakkati Dhammachari. If you have the Dhamma, and that comes and protect you from dangers, even if there is something wrong in your health, try to understand situation with the Dharma. So, Atta Deepa Viharata Bhikkhave Atta Sarna Ananya Sarna, Dhamma Deepa Bhikkhave Viharata Dhamma Sarna Ananya Sarna. Seek the refuge in the Dhamma, nothing else. That is what the Buddha said for us, for our well-being and happiness. And I'm reminding it to you and reminding it to myself, and may we all be well, happy, and peaceful. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.